Welcome back to Grannying, our podcast.
We're so happy to have you here. Today we are going to be just giving you a little recap of Emily's wedding since, as you know, Emily recently got married. Okay, and then we're also going to just be making fridge magnets, which obviously, you know, if you read the title. And we're just going to make them fall themed because it's like the fall season. We're trying to be in the season, in the moment, you know?
Yeah.
And then just talk about the wedding. Just because there was some fun things to happen of it. And, that's all we have to yap about currently. Yeah, that's our update on our lives.
Yeah, I haven't really done anything else other than that.
That was a big portion of the...
the last 2 months.
Quite literally. It was a big portion of my life, your life, everybody around us, so... I think I'm just going to make, like, a little one, but try to make, like, dark brown. You think?
Okay.
Okay. I don't exactly know how to make brown, but I'm going to do it.
I think you mix all the colors together.
Well, should we talk about my experience at the wedding, your experience at the wedding? Like, whose wedding was it, you know?
Let's talk about the beginning. Let's start from the beginning.
Okay, so you're in the location.
No,
that we're
actually,
going to the wedding to.
I'm not there yet. I was on a plane.
Going there.
Yeah, and I land. And it's a destination wedding, so my phone has to reset to, like, we're not in America anymore. And I don't really have service. And Raven has texted the group chat that she has missed the flight.
She did indeed miss the flight.
And Raven is a bridesmaid.
She did indeed miss the flight.
So, but then all the other bridesmaids have been texting, trying to figure out, like, what can we do to help her. So bridesmaids are texting her, trying to figure out, like, a slight solution.
Like, the biggest thing was, like, oh, how did you miss the flight? I'm like, how does one miss a flight? They missed the flight, you know? I'm like, the moral of the story here is...
I had a lot of questions, too.
The moral of the story here is my second party made it on the flight. I did not make it on the flight.
Was the most confusing part. How did
they make it?
Was in the Dominican.
How are you on the exact same flight? They made it and you did not. Was a big question, but I was like, yo, homies... +1 is gonna be there. You gotta hook him up. Like, you gotta help him out. You gotta befriend him. Like, this is the tea. Anyway, there was a lot of questions. Finally, we get through the questions, and I'm like, yo, I did actually miss the flight. So then we had an issue because obviously we had to take have a reservation to get us from
the airport to the hotel.
Like a shuttle, yeah. But it was a shuttle reservation. So I planned it ahead of time. My +1 was going to be using it. I was not going to be using it, but I still somehow needed to get from the airport to the final location. At which point I was like, okay, so I'm trying to call the place. They don't really speak good English, so they're trying to get me to the right person. There's not really a person is what I'm finding out. Things were getting weird. So I was like, okay, like, anything else we can do, you know? And... anyway, it basically came down to I thought, like, my +1 would be able to check in, all this stuff. So he was, like, this person was last resort. I was like, let me call and, you know, inquire about if they could talk to, like, the front desk person there at the reservation spot and just tell them that, like, I'd be coming the next day and this is how we were planning for it to go down. And
which, like, you're not the first person that's missed their flight. So
yeah, so there should be a plan of action here, right? So they were like, yeah, tell her when she gets here, if she slips us a 20, she can get on the shuttle. And I was like, that's all you've got for me? Is like, they sent me, like, a pamphlet with a voucher and everything for the first time. And you're telling me if I get there and slip them a 20...
then you can get on.
I can get on.
Meanwhile, I'm emailing my wedding planner, like, hey, bridesmaid missed her flight. We need to get her a shuttle because she's going to be coming in alone. There was all these factors. And she did not see the email until the day after you landed. Yeah. So it was pointless.
I was also emailing the wedding planner. Yes, you were. And she was not doing anything. So I was like, okay, this is not a good situation. So we got to... finally, like, I fly there, I had a whole new flight, everything, all this blah, blah, blah. I get there, and I'm like, we're going to have to do this situation, which luckily I arranged it so that I'd still be flying in at the same time as, like, a couple, like, almost all the other bridesmaids.
Yes, you actually did really well with the timing.
Thank you. And so, because they were all responding in the chat, I was able to rebook my flight to the
sorry,
flight.
I was on the plane already.
She was doing whatever you were doing, being a bride.
Again,
rude. So then, Anyway, I wind up getting there, and they're all like, Raven, you know, I don't know about you, but like, this seems sketchy. So I was like trying to get verbal confirmation from all of them that if I wound up not being able to take the shuttle, that we would all be taking like a sketchy taxi together. That I would not be the only one taking the sketchy taxi. And kind of like 50-50. Some of them were like, yeah. You know, and the other ones were like, of course, like we would never let you drive alone. I was like, okay, that was not super promising. So then, and I didn't know much about where we were going. My research was very minimal because I thought I was going to have a +1, but my +1 somehow didn't make it to this traveling situation.
Yeah, your
with me.
+1 actually did better than you.
Yeah, somehow made it on the original flight, and I didn't. So anyway, we wind up getting up to like the shuttle location where I'm supposed to tell this guy like, hey, I'm gonna slip you a 20, and everyone's looking at me like as they're getting their vouchers scanned and everything's going super smoothly, and they're all looking at me like, girl. And so I go up and I'm like, hey, like this is my name, so and so sent me. I show them my shuttle, my original voucher. They're like, no, ma'am, you're supposed to be here yesterday. And I was like, Cece, no. I think you're joking with me. Like, I'm supposed to be here today. How did I get here today? They're like, literally, how did you get here today? I'm like, I had a friend. They came and talked to you. And they said, like, you would hook me up. And they're like, oh, do you? And I was like, I've got something for you. And they were like, what do you have? I was like, come here. And I slipped them the 20. And this guy was lit. He was literally like, my girl, I remember you. Like the whole thing, he's like asking what my +1 looked like, all this stuff. I was like, oh my gosh. And that is quite literally how I made it to the hotel. Right there. No voucher, nothing needed. It worked out. I don't know if this was a known thing, but I didn't think it was going to work for me. And it did. And we made it. Only a day late for like a 3-day trip. But we made it.
Yep, that was all that mattered.
That was all that mattered. Then what else happened?
Well, we were at an all-inclusive resort.
Yes, and we loved the all-inclusive resort. Like, I have to say, one of my favorites that I've stayed at.
It was a very nice one. Yes.
Very few upcharges or, like, other things they were trying to sell you. Most, like, everything that you needed was included. Everything that you, like, wouldn't have packed but would have needed. I officially have, like, what I would consider a skin tone brown when I was going for dark brown.
That's great. I don't know what's
that could be a leaf or an acorn after this. So I'm going to try to make another one. Another color. So
we're at the resort. It's pretty nice. We were all hanging out in the pool. Like, there was probably like 15 of us, like kind of in a circle at the pool. And all of a sudden a stranger comes sprinting towards us. But you're also like in a pool. So like you're not actually running that fast. But he was trying. He was trying to run as fast as he could in a 5-foot pool. And we all were like, weird, what's happening? And he's running straight towards us. So we start moving out of the way. And he's screaming something in a different language. So we were like, oh no, dude, I don't know what you need.
And there's like lifeguards right there.
Like, right, like there's
this
staff,
is not a big. There's probably 4 lifeguards
around us
for this one thing. There's multiple like bars, like tiki swim up bars. Like there's people everywhere. So it's not like it's just the 15.
Yeah. So I was like, where are you going? And then he's running straight on this. There's this little like kiddie ledge, so it was only like 6 inches deep probably. And my little cousin, who's like 2, is just sitting there. She's just hanging out, having the time of her life. And he is running straight towards her. And we were like, what is happening? Everyone's trying to get out of his way. And he is trying to catch something, we realize. And something's floating in the water. It was a snake. And it was like this big and black and like jumping out over the water to get away from him. It was the freakiest thing I've ever seen. And it's going
so unexpected.
So unexpected. We're like, I mean, we're at pina coladas going. Like, we're not thinking about snakes at this gorgeous resort.
No. And the thing, there was so much stuff. Like,
so much.
Like, you just would not have thought that you would have seen it either. Like, the fact that it was, like, in the middle of this, like, and how it got into the pool, like, so many questions for me. Right. So many questions.
So then, but now we've all gotten out of the way and we're all screaming. But my little 2-year-old cousin does not realize what's happening. So she's just hanging out, and the snake jumped right over her head. It was so freaky, but we all survived. And then, at that point, the lifeguards realized, what the heck is this guy running at? And then they got a net, and they caught the snake, and it was all fine. So yeah, that was wild.
I did love that it happened, though, because it really added to the plot. It was adding so much to the plot.
I had to tell everybody. I was like, oh my god, I saw a snake in the pool.
Okay, so out also at the pool, you could like leave the pool, you could go down more like beachside, and they would have people like vendors and stuff selling stuff down there. So one of my friends came up and was like, I just got like the best deal ever on a like a coconut. And it was, and they got coconuts for us. And they paid like $25 for this coconut. And I was like, whoa, I don't even think a coconut in the US costs $25. But I wasn't about to burst their bubble and say that. So I was like, oh my gosh, like a coconut for $25 is great. So we're enjoying the coconuts and stuff. And I'm like, this is a big coconut. Like, you cannot drink a whole coconut.
So big.
The coconut was bigger than my head. Like, we should insert photos because the coconut was crazy. But anyway, I am trying so hard to like enjoy this coconut and drink the whole thing and whatever. But I like knew I wasn't gonna drink the whole thing. Like, it just was impossible. Anyway, so as this is going on and on and on, you know, they're talking about like the deal that they got. Everyone's discussing if they should get coconuts. We're like passing the coconut around.
I do think
like,
one more person went down and got a coconut, right? Because you guys talked about it so much.
Yeah, there was one person got one for $25, the other person got one for $20. Anyway, but like everyone was kind of like bragging about these coconuts. Like, well, there was only 2.
Because you're like in paradise. You got it.
And everything's free except for these coconuts.
Yeah.
Okay? Then, kid you not, the pool like every 30 minutes has like some fun excursion thing or
like
whatever,
like
whatever. Anyway, the thing that they're doing next, free coconuts, and they're like samurai sorting them open, and it was like a whole experience.
And then once you finish the coconut, they'd cut it open again so you could eat the meat. It was like a whole thing, and it was free. So people in their group got giant coconuts, and they had to pay for them, and then they were stuck carrying around the coconut for like hours.
I had that coconut for so long.
Because it was so
my
big.
biceps were growing from how long I had that coconut in my hands.
Are
Okay,
we
let's
almost-
just make something out of the balls we have. Make one out of your green ball, and I'll make one out of my tan. I'm gonna make one thing, and then we're done sharing stories. So we just got little stamp cutouts, because why not? So easy.
Cookie cutters.
Yeah.
What are things we could do with these once they dry?
I was thinking they'd be like a fridge magnet.
Oh,
What did you
cute.
think?
Yeah,
I thought they would
something
look
like that.
more realistic, but something about the coloring is off. Can you see my squirrel?
Something about the coloring. Not quite sure.
How do you
what it
feel
is.
about it? I personally would not put this on my fridge just because I'm embarrassed of it, but I don't know. I thought this craft was going to go so much better. I watched a lot of people online do it, and theirs looked so good.
Here's what we decided. I
These
thought
are kind of sticking to everything, but that I feel like this food dye made it stickier.
I agree.
It was like not that sticky. The second I started adding the food dye, it was sticking to my hands, sticking to everything.
We agreed that like the ones that have a lot of detail and that are small on Pinterest kind of lie, and they're a little bit deceiving, and they're harder than they actually look. I don't know. I've tried like 3, and none of them look like the shapes they're supposed to, so I'm confused.
If I just look at it from this direction already, though, like that's a bad sign. The turkey is getting very tree.
It might be a tree. It maybe is a tree.
Okay, this one I'm satisfied with. This is the final one. You see? Do you want to go down? Hold on. I'm going to dye you if I touch you. Okay. There you go.
Our hands are embarrassing. I don't like want anyone to see my hands.
It's okay. Now you know for next time. I honestly think, though, it has to do with these. These are, like, no artificial dyes, food dyes, and I think that's part of the issue here. I don't think it just has to do with us.
Honestly, though, last season we had so many videos that just didn't turn out how we wanted, and this is
our first bus,
yeah.
and this is like one of very few. So
we'll take that as a win.
yeah, if you're looking for a better craft, we did the lip gloss phones, and that was really fun. I would go to that video.
Yeah, that did turn out really well.
Yeah. Oh, real quick, we have some free stickers that we want to give to you.
And it would be creepy if you put your address down below on YouTube. So all you have to do is find us on Instagram and DM us your address.
Yeah, we'll know exactly what you mean and what you're there for, but trust me, these are free. They're for you. There's no catches. We just want you to be able to have them. They say grannying, so you can like support the channel, put them on a water bottle, put them on your laptop, whatever. Okay, that's all. That's our recap about Emily's wedding.
Yeah.
I guess we actually had like way more stories to tell, but not so long. Such chatters here.
Well, thanks for watching, you guys.
Thank you for hanging out, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.